Imagine waking up to this message on your phone. Emergency water restrictions. Effective midnight. What if I told you that 7 Western states are on the verge of a real estate collapse unlike anything we've seen in a generation? And seniors, those who need stability most, will be hit hardest and fastest. Look at these documents: water district emergency bulletins, insurance non-renewal notices, builder memos announcing no new taps. These aren't hypotheticals. These are happening now. Last month, water authorities in 3 western counties froze all new building permits. The reason? Not enough water to support existing residents, let alone new ones. Think about what that means for home values when buyers suddenly can't get mortgages, insurance, or even guaranteed water service. The first shiver. The warning signs have been flashing for years. Lake Mead at historic lows, the Colorado River compact under unprecedented strain, farmland investment funds quietly buying up water rights across the West. But we've been lulled into complacency by temporary reprieves. A good snow year fills reservoirs. A governor announces a new pipeline project. A major developer promises jobs and housing for all. We want to believe the story that everything will be fine. Then come the headlines you might have missed. Major insurers pulling out of fire-prone counties, water utilities implementing steep surcharges, corporate landlords suddenly listing thousands of single-family rentals in drought-stressed regions. For those on fixed incomes, this isn't just another market cycle. This is a fundamental change in the rules. The shift. Here's what's happening below the surface. Wall Street knows what's coming. Private equity firms and institutional investors are quietly bundling and listing thousands of rental properties in water-stressed metros. They're not waiting for a slow decline. They're preparing for a sudden repricing event. Municipal bond rating agencies are putting water-stressed communities on watch. When those downgrades hit, local services suffer first. And who relies on those services most? Seniors. HOAs across the Southwest are announcing special assessments to upgrade aging water infrastructure. We're talking $10,000, $15,000, even $20,000 per household. Can you write that check tomorrow if your board demands it? The plain truth for seniors is devastating. Fixed incomes are about to meet rising utility fees, skyrocketing insurance premiums, and falling resale values, all at once. The market isn't cooling. It's changing the rules overnight. 7-state scan. Let's map the crisis state by state. Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, and Utah. Each faces a unique water emergency, but all share one reality. The math no longer works. There simply isn't enough water to support current population levels, let alone the growth these regions have banked on. Arizona's water stress driver is brutal and immediate. As a junior rights holder to Colorado River water, Arizona takes the first and deepest cuts when shortages are declared. The Central Arizona Project, which supplies water to Phoenix and Tucson, could see allocations cut by up to 80% under worst-case scenarios. On the corporate side, look at what's happening with build-to-rent developments. These investor-owned neighborhoods depend entirely on new water connections. When those taps stop, construction freezes and existing properties lose their growth premium overnight. The tripwires to watch in 2025-2026, new tap moratoriums expanding beyond rural counties into suburban Phoenix and Tucson, insurance premiums spiking for heat and fire risks, HOA reserve funds depleting faster than they can be replenished. Price scenarios range from an orderly 15-20% reset in Metro Phoenix to catastrophic 40% drops in exurban areas where water service becomes unreliable. For seniors specifically, Arizona's risks center around HOA stability. Those 55-plus communities with massive water features and golf courses, they're facing astronomical maintenance costs as water prices rise. The fixed-income retiree in Sun City facing a $15,000 special assessment doesn't have many good options. Take Margaret and James in Buckeye. They bought their retirement dream home in 2020. Today, their water rates have tripled, their home insurance premium doubled, and their HOA just announced a $12,000 per household fee to upgrade water infrastructure. Their fixed income hasn't changed. What would you do? California. California's water crisis is driven by the implementation of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, which restricts pumping from overtaxed aquifers. Add unprecedented wildfire risk, and you have a perfect storm for insurance retreat. The corporate angle here is insurance companies redefining lending conditions. When major carriers pull out of entire counties, as they've done in parts of the Sierra foothills, mortgage lending freezes. No insurance, no mortgage, no buyers. Tripwires to watch include carrier non-renewals accelerating into coastal communities, local building moratoriums tied to water availability, and managed retreat policies for fire-prone areas. Price paths vary dramatically by region. The Central Valley could see 25–30% drops where groundwater restrictions hit hardest. Fire-prone communities might see even steeper declines if insurance becomes unavailable at any price. For seniors, California offers some protection through property tax transfer rules, but 55+ communities face dramatic fee increases to maintain water-intensive amenities. The gap between water-secure urban cores and water-stressed exurbs will widen rapidly. Consider Roy and Ellen in Auburn. Their insurer just dropped them after 22 years. The only replacement policy costs 4 times more with a $25,000 deductible. Their water district just implemented a drought pricing that doubles their monthly bill. Their retirement savings won't stretch nearly as far as they planned. Colorado faces unique pressure as both a source state for the Colorado River and a rapidly growing population center. Counties along the Front Range are implementing growth caps tied directly to water portfolio security. The corporate angle centers on data centers and master-planned communities competing for limited water rights. Those projects approved yesterday might not have guaranteed water tomorrow. Tripwires include county-level tap quotas being cut year after year, insurance repricing after devastating wildfire seasons, and water rights auctions driving prices beyond municipal budgets. Price scenarios range from a 10–15% correction in Denver's core to 30% drops in mountain communities where wildfire risk combines with water uncertainty. For seniors, the critical concern is healthcare access in mountain and rural counties. As these communities become less viable due to water and fire issues, hospitals and clinics consolidate or close. Imagine being 30 minutes from emergency care today, but 90 minutes away next year. Michael and Susan retired to their dream home outside Boulder 5 years ago. Today, their water comes from a community well system that's dropping 2 feet per year. New drilling regulations make deepening the well nearly impossible. Without reliable water, their mountain paradise becomes unsellable overnight. Nevada's entire future hinges on Lake Mead levels. Las Vegas has implemented some of the most aggressive water conservation measures in the country, but rural communities lack the resources to adapt as quickly. The corporate real estate angle shows master plan developments in holding patterns, awaiting water allocations that may never come. Meanwhile, industrial users, particularly data centers and manufacturing, compete for the same dwindling resource. Tripwires include new connection limits expanding beyond Clark County, rapidly rising utility surcharges, and casino resorts implementing dramatic conservation measures that signal systemic risk. Price scenarios range from relative stability in water-efficient Las Vegas neighborhoods to 35% drops in outlying communities dependent on uncertain allocations. For seniors, the urban-rural divide is stark. Las Vegas itself has invested billions in water recycling and conservation, creating relative security. But retirement communities in outlying areas face existential threats to their water service. David and Linda moved to Pahrump for affordable retirement living. Now their well requires deeper pumping each year, costing thousands in electricity. The local water district warns that without new infrastructure, Funded by massive rate hikes, residential service could become unreliable within 5 years. New Mexico. New Mexico faces critical pressure on the Rio Grande system and complex adjudication battles between senior and junior water rights holders. Indigenous communities with the oldest rights are finally seeing those rights enforced, often at the expense of more recent developments. The corporate angle centers on energy and mining operations competing with residential use, along with institutional investors testing single-family rental markets in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Tripwires include compact litigation outcomes that could dramatically reshape water availability, municipal rate hikes to fund aging infrastructure, and groundwater contamination from industrial uses limiting already scarce supplies. Price scenarios range from 15–20% corrections in Albuquerque to potential 40% drops in communities where adjudication results in severe use restrictions. For seniors, rural medical access remains the critical concern. As water-stressed communities shrink, medical facilities consolidate, leaving the elderly with longer drives for essential care. Elena, a 72-year-old widow in Las Cruces, faces water bills that now consume nearly 15% of her fixed income. Her neighborhood has seen 3 families leave in the past month alone. Home values have already dropped 12%, and the worst is yet to come. Texas. Texas faces a water crisis driven by Ogallala aquifer depletion in the high plains and increasingly stressed hill country groundwater systems. The state's explosive growth has outpaced sustainable water resource development. The corporate angle reveals alarming concentration of single-family rental ownership in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin suburbs, alongside massive water demand from new semiconductor fabs and data centers. Tripwires include expansion of Stage 3 and Stage 4 water restrictions into major metros, adjustable rate mortgage resets colliding with higher insurance and utility fees, and groundwater district rules that effectively end new development in once booming counties. Price scenarios range from modest 10–15% corrections in established Dallas and Houston neighborhoods to potentially catastrophic 50% drops in exurban communities built on assumptions of unlimited groundwater. For seniors, Texas offers some protection through homestead exemptions, but property tax trajectories remain troubling. The fixed-income retiree in Texas faces a triple threat of rising taxes, insurance retreats, and escalating water costs. Robert and Maria in New Braunfels thought they'd found the perfect retirement spot. Now their subdivision faces mandatory watering restrictions 9 months of the year. Their yard is dying, their HOA is fining them for it, and 3 neighbors have already walked away from their mortgages. Utah's crisis centers on the catastrophic decline of the Great Salt Lake and explosive growth in Washington and Utah counties. As the lake shrinks, toxic dust storms threaten air quality across the Wasatch Front. The corporate angle shows master-planned community approvals now strictly tied to conservation commitments, while resort real estate in Park City and similar areas faces both water and snowpack concerns. Tripwires include air quality events driving insurer caution, tap slowdowns affecting development timelines, and water shares trading at record prices on local exchanges. Price scenarios range from 10–15% corrections in Salt Lake City proper to 30% drops in rapidly growing areas that lack secure water rights. For seniors, the combination of heat, air quality issues, and potential water shortages creates serious health concerns. The number of days when outdoor activity is unsafe for seniors is increasing each year. Tom and Barbara built their dream retirement home in St. George 5 years ago. Today, their water district has implemented tier pricing that makes maintaining their modest landscaping cost prohibitive. The dust from their now barren yard exacerbates Barbara's respiratory condition, but selling means taking a significant loss. Midpoint. High, the false calm. Wait, good news just broke. Western reservoirs show improvement after strong winter. New desalination plant approved for Southern California coast. Major pipeline project to bring relief to Phoenix Metro. The market responds. Listings stabilize in water-stressed areas. Builders advertise senior-friendly incentives to move inventory. Politicians assure voters that technology and infrastructure will solve these temporary challenges. But here's what those headlines don't tell you. Temporary relief is not the same as long-term replenishment. A good snow year doesn't recharge aquifers that took thousands of years to fill. A desalination plant that serves 50,000 people doesn't solve problems for 5 million. And the costs of water treatment, delivery, infrastructure maintenance remain stubbornly high. Those costs will be passed on to residents, with fixed-income households bearing the heaviest relative burden. Don't mistake a pause for a reversal. The fundamental math hasn't changed. The rug pull. Then comes the sequence that triggers collapse. A federal court upholds strict new limits on groundwater pumping across 3 states. Overnight, thousands of residential wells face new operating restrictions or outright bans. Major insurers announce they'll no longer offer coverage in 27 counties across the Southwest due to combined water stress and fire risk. Lenders immediately tighten requirements for new mortgages in these areas. And the final blow. One of the nation's largest single-family rental operators announces plans to sell 12,000 homes across Arizona, Nevada, and Texas. Not individually, but in bulk portfolios. Comparable home values get crushed overnight. Meanwhile, at Saguaro Sunset, a 55-plus community outside Phoenix, residents receive an emergency notice. A special assessment of $18,000 per household is required immediately to upgrade failing water infrastructure. On fixed incomes, many simply cannot pay. For millions of seniors across the Southwest, the questions become existential. Stay and pay? Sell at a loss? Walk away entirely? What does survival look like now? The quiet low meet. Helen, 74, widowed last year. Her Scottsdale home of 22 years is paid off, but her water bill has tripled and her insurance premium quadrupled. She needs to stay near her cardiologist and support network, but the math no longer works on her fixed income. Meet Richard and Gloria, both 70, in their Las Vegas suburb. They've just been priced out not by their mortgage, which is manageable, but by an insurance premium that now costs more monthly than their home loan. Without insurance, their mortgage company will force-place coverage at even higher rates. Meet Carlos, 68, who serves on his HOA board in a Santa Fe retirement community. With tears in his eyes, he has to tell his neighbors, many of whom he's known for a decade, that they face a $22,000 per household assessment to replace failing water lines. There is no reserve fund left to cushion the blow. These are the quiet tragedies playing out in thousands of households across the American Southwest. Not market cycles, but market failures. The practical rise, senior survival playbook. But there is a path forward. Not hype, not false hope, but practical steps for water-first buying and selling decisions that can preserve your retirement security. If you're considering a move or trying to decide whether to stay put, here are the water-first buying rules you must follow. First, demand documentation of the water source, river, aquifer, or allocation in writing. Vague assurances mean nothing. You need to know exactly where your water comes from and what rights protect it. Second, require a history of restrictions and future tap commitments. How often has this community faced water emergencies? How many new connections has the utility promised to developers? Third, get a binding insurance quote before entering escrow. In today's market, assuming you'll find affordable coverage is a potentially costly mistake. Fourth, review the HOA reserve study and any planned water system projects. Underfunded reserves plus aging infrastructure equals special assessments you can't afford. Fifth, confirm medical access, drive times, and power outage backups. Water-stressed areas often face power challenges too. What happens when both systems fail simultaneously? Sixth, model fixed income stress scenarios. Your combined essential costs, taxes, insurance, utilities should never exceed 35% of your fixed income. Build in a buffer for dramatic increases. Seventh, avoid fringe exurbs relying on new taps for growth. When those taps stop, these areas face the steepest declines. Eighth, prefer metros with diverse job bases and proven conservation. Economic resilience matters just as much as water security. Where are the opportunities in this challenging landscape? They do exist, but they're not where most people are looking. Consider and fill 55-plus communities inside water-managed metros like San Diego, Denver, and Austin. These areas have invested billions in water security and conservation. Look at smaller, well-governed towns with long-term water rights and modern treatment plants. Places like Prescott, Arizona, and Grand Junction, Colorado, have taken steps to secure their water futures. Explore solid condos with strong reserves and proven insurance access in water-secure areas. The lower maintenance and shared costs can provide a buffer against utility spikes. For income investors, municipal green bonds that fund water infrastructure upgrades can offer both return and community stability. Policy and advocacy. As seniors, your voices matter in shaping policy responses to this crisis. Here's what to ask of your elected officials. Demand water source transparency. Every resident deserves to know exactly where their water comes from and what threats exist to that supply. Advocate for drought fee caps for seniors and those on fixed incomes. Essential services should never consume an unsustainable portion of retirement income. Push for insurance access pools that spread risk more equitably across regions and age groups. Support wildfire and heat mitigation credits that reward homeowners for taking steps to reduce collective risk. At the community level, consider innovative approaches like senior housing co-ops, shared equity models, and neighborhood water audits that can identify savings opportunities. Earned resolution. The reality we face isn't simple, and there are no easy answers. Markets price fear fast, but communities build resilience slowly. The coming water wars will reshape the map of livable America in ways we're only beginning to understand. Home prices in water-stressed regions won't just dip. They could collapse in ways that particularly harm those with the least capacity to absorb financial shocks. But knowledge is power. By understanding the specific risks, the early warning signs, and the practical steps you can take today, you can protect yourself and your retirement security. Choose the places that choose you back, with water, with care, with truth. The communities that acknowledge reality, plan accordingly, and invest in resilience will not only survive but thrive in the water-constrained future we all face. For those on fixed incomes, the stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about property values. It's about the fundamental security of your retirement years. If you're 55 plus and weighing a move, download our Water First Home checklist and fixed income budget sheet using the link below. Share this information with a neighbor or loved one. One smart choice can save a retirement. The water wars are coming. But with clear eyes and practical steps, you can ensure your financial security doesn't become collateral damage in a fight you didn't start and can't control. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay informed, stay prepared, and stay secure.